Hi there, welcome to Susie's Space. Today I wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about the yogic philosophy of being and becoming, those two energies, and then to guide you into some really restorative, restful inversions. So you can receive the benefits of inversions in a restful way. So nothing that activates the nervous system too much, because at times like this, the nervous system can be quite activated. We can be in our fight or flight pathways just because of our emotions, which changes the way we hold ourselves in our body. If our shoulders slump forward, it signals to the nervous system that there could be a threat coming and we need to protect. If our jaw clenches, it can do the same thing. So our thoughts and our feelings can change the way we hold ourselves in our body and how the energy flows and what that signals to the nervous system. So I wanted to talk a little bit first about these two things, being and becoming. They're energies that are always at play. And we could say that becoming is a part of our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight, the part of us that is active in our daily lives, gets us up out of bed, drives us out to work, inspiration, get up and go, those things that keep us achieving, goal setting and reaching our goals. And then there's this idea of being. Being is closely connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest pathways, our vagus nerve pathways. And right now we are being faced with more being than we usually are faced with, unless you're still working. But even if your work has shifted from heading out early morning, maybe commuting to Melbourne, whatever you do, there's more becoming. You get up, you get ready, you get out, you get into your car, or you go to transport, you get to the city or wherever you're going, get to your workplace, you go through the motions of your day. So the whole day is about becoming. There's not a lot of room for being. So right now, even if you are still working, your daily routine has probably changed a lot. You probably have more time in your day. So there's more space for being. So we can think in our mind can feel restricted by this idea of more being. And that can activate us into our sympathetic nervous system, into our fight or flight response, because it's a change. In the spaciousness of being, there is a world of possibilities. In the spaciousness of being, on the exhalation, there's a release and there's a let go. And in that release and let go, there's a whole myriad of things that can happen. Our senses are more attuned. There's more stillness. So you may be hearing more things. You may be seeing things that you didn't see before in the house. Possibly there are things that even agitate you, or things that you love. The mind likes to grip to either the things that agitate us or the things that we love. So your senses may be heightened and ideas may be flowing. Now, even this can create a fight or flight response, because we're not used to having that. And even though we may feel like this situation is restricting us and putting rules and regulations around us, so we might feel like we're boxed in or we're boundaried, the energy of being is actually way more expansive than the energy of becoming. I'll talk a little bit about that. When we're focused on becoming, it's usually goal-oriented, achievement-oriented. We're usually going through our day in a linear fashion. This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And an outcome is worked towards. Whether that outcome happens on the day or whether it's just an outcome that we constantly work towards throughout our days, it is an outcome-oriented focus. And if you really sit and think about it, that is actually more restrictive than the energy of being. So the achievement-oriented becoming can also activate our sympathetic nervous system, because it's always action. It's always action. It's always, I do this, then I do this, then I do this, and then, oh my God, I forgot this. And then, oh, my list is sitting over here. I've got to get the kids. I've got to do the grocery shopping. I've got to do that for that person. I've got to have that catch up. So that's becoming. So what's actually happening here is we're all being thrown into the world of being. Now, if you have a practice that offers you a philosophy, that it doesn't have to be yoga, that offers you stillness, that offers you movement, you will already be more acquainted with this idea of being. A meditation practice offers you this as well, and it can be as simple as sitting for 2 or 3 minutes a day. It can offer you this feeling of being, and you will also feel that a spaciousness arises even more than arrives. A spaciousness arises in us, and in that space, like I mentioned earlier, is a world of possibilities. So becoming is actually more restrictive and being is actually more expansive. If we dare to settle into being more and more, we start to settle the nervous system, we connect to the breath, we find ways of calming ourselves, and from there, the mind is so much freer to be able to see beyond the boundaries of becoming. So we can actually find new ways of doing things. We can find new ways of connecting. We can find new ways, like we think that there's only one way and we go about it day after day after day after day. And the yogis say that the most detrimental thing to a human's wellness is this idea of doing the same thing in the same way every day. It leads to repetitive strain physically, mentally, emotionally, and we get quite boxed in, even though we think we're free and doing what we want. So just some thoughts, just some ideas, discuss this stuff, meditate on this stuff. When I say meditate on this stuff, welcome these words of being and becoming into your meditation practice, so it becomes more of a contemplation, which is different to meditation, and then allow your mind just to sit in stillness, and ideas will start to flow. That's the energy of being. So yeah, the beauty of having a philosophy, having a philosophy that supports, having a philosophy that I continue to study, that I continue to check back in with, that flows into my mind and becomes a practical practice, is so supportive at times like this. So I thought that I'd start to share some of that stuff as well. So let me know what those words mean to you, and what the words feel like to you when I speak about them. So what I'd like to do now is show you a few ways that you can set yourself up in some really supportive inversions. Inversions are super supportive to the cardiovascular system, because usually to pump the blood back from the lower body to the stomach and the heart, is via movement. So it's muscular contraction, so the body is working. So when we bring the pelvis and the legs above the heart, the blood comes back in a passive way, which really supports the cardiovascular system. The heart doesn't have to pump quite as much, and there's a lot of blood sitting there to be taken through the body. It increases immunity in the same way because the lymphatic system also requires movement. It has no pumps. It requires movement to flow lymph through the body. So again, this can allow stagnant lymphatic waste, toxins, to drain from the lower body and to come back up to be distributed more evenly, cleaned, which can improve the white blood cells and our immunity, which is perfect at this time as well. I've just got a couple of notes here to keep me on track. It can be very energizing because it brings more blood to the brain. When more blood comes to the brain, when we come up, we can feel clearer. We can feel like, oh, wow, I've just had a bit of a clean out in my mental faculties. And all of a sudden, the things that were bothering me aren't bothering me anymore, and I can see a little more clearly. In the way that I will be showing you today, it can be very relaxing. So it takes us into the parasympathetic nervous system, especially if you stay here for 10, 15 minutes. Find a position that's really comfortable and just allow yourself to stop there. It's anti-gravity. So the effects of gravity, as we all know, especially those of us that are in midlife. I can't believe that, midlife. I'm 48. So I guess you can say that that is midlife. Gravity, we start to notice the effects of gravity. So these are anti-gravity. We're turning ourselves upside down. We're allowing things to drain from the lower body. We're offering organs a bit of a lift depending how high up we go. So it can start to, depending on how long we practice these things for, reverse the effects of gravity. Of course, not altogether, but it can really help us as we enter this next half of our life when gravity is having a deeper effect. And it can also just give ourselves a whole new perspective. Tipping ourselves upside down can offer us a whole new perspective of life, and it's a bit of fun. Feeling the body weight in the shoulders, feeling the cervical spine, the neck lengthen, releasing the jaw. Vagus nerve starts at the base of the skull. So, all of the muscles around there can relax. And we can just feel more joyful and more at ease in our body. So the first one we are going to start with is using a chair. Any old chair will do, even your lounge chair. So I'm going to pop this over this side. So I've got my bolster. You can use couch cushions. Maybe you have some nice big sort of firmer cushions on your couch that you can use. I've got blankets here, all my usual props, blocks. But what I'm going to do is pop a blanket. Let's actually roll a blanket so the ankles can sit over the roll of the blanket, which will take the feet and ankles a little and shins a little higher than the thighs. And then I'm going to come down onto my back. I'm going to pop my legs up here. I'm going to push this forward as far as I can. Maybe even just push it through a little like that so it'll get my feet. So what I really want is from my knees, that's perfect. So from my knees, my whole lower leg, my whole calf is on the chair. You can do this on your lounge chair, you can do it on a chair here, and have something so the ankles feel supported and it takes the feet a little higher than the shins. And then you just come down onto the ground, take the arms out to a comfortable position. If you take them overhead, it'll give you a gentle shoulder opening. You can have them cactus at the side, which also gives you a slightly different opening through the shoulders. You can have them straight out, palms facing up, or you can have them down a little further. Make sure there is space here between the side body and the arms, and play around with all of those positions. And then settle in. Take a few nice deep breaths to start. Into the belly. Open the mouth, let the exhale out, maybe even sighing. Feel the tongue dropping to the floor of the mouth. Feel the lower jaw releasing, allowing space between all of the teeth. Keep the lips softly sealed and breathe through the nose. The eyes are closed. Now you can press pause here and set a timer, or just stay here for as long as you like. This is probably the most gentle version. This is really beautiful for the pelvis, for the thighs. So if you're staying here, press pause. When it's time to come, I'm just going to move on so I can show you a few different versions. When it's time to come out, just wriggle the fingers and toes. Bend one knee at a time, roll to a side. Take a moment on your side, take a few breaths, especially if you've been there for a good 10 minutes or more. And then push up with your hands, keeping yourself nice and heavy, not bouncing out. And after every one of these forms, whichever one you choose to pause the video at and practice, when you come out, just come into a comfortable seat. It might be on the chair, it might be cross-legged, it might be the way I'm sitting, back on my feet. And you can either enter a meditation practice from there. It's a really nice time to meditate. The mind will be nice and soft and clear. It should have lost its busyness and its tightness. So it's a beautiful time to enter meditation. So the next one I'm going to show you is in the center of the room. If you have a bolster or a firm couch cushion, this is a really nice fun one. I sit on this and I come a little forward, so my bottom is off here, and then I bring my shoulders down onto the ground. Now I keep my knees bent and I just rock a little side to side here. So I want my back hips and my sacrum to be the heaviest part on the bolster. Sometimes we do this with a block and it's a lot narrower, so you can really feel that it's on the back hips. With this, with being a little wider, you'll feel some of your buttocks and you'll feel some of your lumbar spine on here. That's totally fine, but just allow the sacrum and the back hips to be the main focus. Then I'm going to draw one knee in at a time, rock my hips a little, roll side to side, lengthen through my tail. You can see I'm rolling my shoulders under here a little too, palms facing up. And then one at a time, I take my legs up into the air. Lengthen through the heels here, spread the toes, stay activated for a couple of breaths. Kneecaps lifting down towards the pelvis, heels lengthening, toes spreading, and then totally let it go. The knees will bend, You'll feel a relaxation all the way down the spine to the base of the skull. Breathe into the belly. Oh, it's so nice being here. And just keep the legs straight up from the pelvis. So I'm not really inviting them to fall down. So there's a little bit of holding action here. You want to feel spacious around the front hips. You want to feel like the front hips are really dropping back to the back hips. And again, if this is super comfortable for you, try a different practice every day. Relax the tongue and the jaw. Relax the shoulders, relax the spine. There's a little bit of holding just to keep the legs up, but really feel like they're dangling. Knees are soft, ankles are soft. And the longer you stay here, the more body weight you'll feel in your shoulders, your pelvis, your upper arms, the base of your skull. Tune into those sensations and keep on dropping. Let gravity take you down. Reverse the effects of gravity. Press pause. Stay here for as long as you like. The next option is simply practicing in more like a bridge setup here. So this too is an inversion. It's maybe more comfortable. Breathe into the belly. Heel toe the feet out so they're a little wider than the hips. And just feel like the legs are really softening towards each other. They won't come anywhere near touching, but it just will encourage the legs to soften. Allow your lumbar spine to feel like it's draping. And as soon as you allow that lumbar spine to drape, you'll feel a lift through the pelvis, just a very passive lift. So this is a really beautiful position if you have prolapse through any of your internal lower organs. No pressure, no stress anywhere in the body, and we're gently lifting those internal organs in a very passive way. So you may choose to stay here. I'll keep moving on. When you're ready to come out of either one of these, bend the knees, bring them back in towards the body, and let the legs be really heavy. Rock side to side, and now just let the knees drop down towards the torso. Flex the feet a little and then relax the feet. Now really feel the heaviness through the shoulders. Feel the length through the neck. Oh, I love these positions. They're like medicine for my nervous system and all of those other points that I touched on before we started. And then when you're ready to come out, you can either roll to a side or you can place the feet back on the ground, push into the feet, hip distance apart, push the bolster out from underneath of you, lower the back hips to the ground, lengthen through the legs. Maybe you enter Shavasana here for another 5-10 minutes. Maybe you pop a bolster under your knees. If you're doing this at night time, spend another 5 or 10 minutes in Shavasana and then jump into bed. Or slink into bed, maybe not jump after a practice like this. Bend the knees, roll to a side. Always come out with the hands, keeping the head and neck nice and heavy. Again, you can enter a meditation here. Nice long spine. Feel the relaxation and just soak in the feelings of heaviness in the body. Now we're going to move along 2 legs up the wall. Now you can come into legs up the wall with nothing underneath your back hips, so just your back hips on the ground. I still come right onto the side of my hip, walk my buttocks up the wall. I come down onto my shoulder, so my shoulder is in alignment with that hip. This ensures that I'll stay nice and close to the wall as I come up. Now, if the hamstrings are tight, you'll shuffle back away from the wall a little bit, allowing space between your buttocks and the wall. If you like here, you can wrap a scarf or a belt around your shins or your thighs. This offers me no holding whatsoever through the legs, so I can just totally let go here. So what happens when I totally let go? My feet relax more and more, my knees relax more and more, my ankles, my pelvis. It feels like the thighs are just melting down into the pelvis. Find a position for the arms by the side, shoulder height, cactus above the head. Let the knees go soft, they'll move away from the wall. This is a restorative style inversion practice. Come to the breath, feel it in the belly. Relax the tongue, relax the jaw. Again, stay here 10 minutes. When you're ready to come out, bend the knees, remove whatever you've got around your legs. You can stay here with the knees in towards the body. You can bring the soles of the feet together and give yourself a gentle stretch through the inner thighs. The heel of my hand is on my inner knees. Keep dropping the pelvis down. You can rock a little side to side. Take a few breaths here. It's a nice time to give yourself a little inner groin stretch when the muscles are nice and relaxed. Go easy though. We don't want to activate this nervous system. And then bring the knees back together, roll to a side, coming up. Now you can do the same thing with a little bit more lift through your pelvis. So you can come up onto a blanket, pop it close to the wall, get in the same way, but sit right on the edge here. Or I'll show you with a bolster. Remember that I have props that you can borrow. So if you're really getting into this stuff and it's helping you, hit me up for some props. Now, it's a little more tricky to get into this form on the bolster. So exactly the same, but I'll show you. Sit right on the edge of the bolster. So I've got the full length of the bolster behind me here. Now, I come exactly onto the side of my hip. I walk my buttocks up the wall. Then I bring my shoulder down in alignment with this hip. So shoulder all the way down to the ground, head on the ground. And then I take one leg up at a time. They sort of swing up together and I'm quite close to the wall here. I grab my scarf or whatever I'm using to allow my legs to dangle and not hold. I like to tuck my shoulders under a little bit, but you can try it in different ways. And then I settle in again. Now this is a glorious, slightly higher inversion. Breathe into the belly. Feel the chest a little closer to the chin, but soften the soft palate in the mouth and imagine it dropping down to the ground. As you do that, the base of your skull will become heavier. Your neck muscles and your throat will soften back. So even though your chest is a little closer to your chin, you want to still feel open and soft through the throat. So for some people that have tightness in their chest, this can feel a little claustrophobic. If that's happening to you, come back down. Don't have any height underneath your hips. If it feels like there's too much pressure building in the head, around the eyes, if you have a history of glaucoma, maybe high blood pressure, don't have anything under the hips, it's very safe for you to practice the other inversions we've done on the chair, or flat here, legs up the wall with nothing under my pelvis. But if this is right for you, find a position for the arms, settle in, stay for as long as you like. Tune into the sensations of heaviness. The feet will have lots of different sensations in them. The more often you practice this, the less sensations there will be, they'll change. Again, press stop here if this is where you're at. Stay here. When you're ready to come out, bend the knees, remove your belt. See what it's like to bring the knees into the chest, and maybe you even take the legs over and give yourself a nice stretch here. Hang on to the back of the feet. I can feel my upper back now nice and heavy on the ground. Breathe here. Stay nice and relaxed. If this is too much, don't do it. Don't ignite the nervous system. Get a feel for the legs being close to the face. Another option is just bending the knees, wrapping the hands softly, drawing the knees in, letting gravity bring the knees closer to the face. It's a really nice feeling. Or you can come back to your butterfly. Push the knees away from you. Arch the spine a little. Soles of the feet touching. Toes will come away from each other. Spend a few breaths here. Draw the knees into the chest. Roll to the side. Come all the way up. And then come to a seat. See if you can have the pelvis a little higher than the hips. Maybe you sit on a chair, maybe you shuffle back and sit on a wall. And close the eyes. Let your pelvis be really heavy. This should be quite easily felt at this stage. Nice heavy pelvis. From a heavy pelvis springs a nice lightness through the spine. Crown of the head tall. Base of the skull open. Tongue and jaw soft. Eyes closed. Hands on the thighs. Feel the breath in the belly. And really tune into how you're feeling. Let this feeling of heaviness and deep relaxation flood every single cell of the body. Let the breath be natural. Follow the breath with your mind. Stay with the sensations, stay with the breath. If there's anywhere that's gripping, let it go, especially through the buttocks and the jaw. Stay here and breathe and witness, observing you for as long as you like. When you're ready to come out, bring the hands together at the heart. Bow to your heart space, honoring and giving thanks to you. Meeting self with kindness, care, compassion. In this time of being, it can be very challenging. We're met with ourselves, parts of ourselves we don't usually see or spend time witnessing. Parts of our loved ones, our household, that we can get away from, that we're now stuck with. Have a little smile here. Just allowing it all to be a part of the mix right now. And finding things that help to calm us. Inhale, raise the head, thumbs to the third eye, softly bow. Honoring and giving thanks to the practice, its deep, ancient roots, and its practical knowledge and wisdom, and application of that wisdom. It's extraordinary. And honoring and giving thanks to each other. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. Let me know about your ponderings and your reflections.